How the fuck's it going, everyone? Back today with some weird shit. Hope your weekend's going well so far. I thought I would come back today with something a bit more fun, a bit more kind of upbeat than just a regular old kind of vinyl update vid. Just because I've been at work so far this weekend and I'm there again tomorrow, so I thought I'd kind of come up with something a little bit light-hearted. So what I've done here is I've gone through my collection, had a quick think, and come up with 10 albums that I think are the weirdest in my collection. So these are albums that might be more abstract, unusual, scarcely replicated just because of how strange and unconventional they may be, whether that's how it's played, how it's produced, anything like that. So yeah, I've pulled out a handful of albums here. There were several more that I could have picked, but I thought these ones are albums that I really haven't heard anything like before outside of these records, or at least not effectively if they have been kind of, if somebody has tried to sort of reproduce them in any way. A little bit of housekeeping, as always. I have done a couple of mini reviews from when I asked you to give me one album recommendation so I can kind of quick fire review them. So I should have that filmed tomorrow after work. Just bear with me, I am getting round to it. I have done proper reviews and tried to condense them so they're a bit more concise and won't end up being a 20-hour video or whatever, because you know how I like to ramble. But yeah, it is coming. Thank you very much for all your recommendations so far. I think I better make a series out of it, just so I can get through a few more than like 3 in this upcoming video. But yeah, anyway, support's been awesome. Appreciate it. Also, welcome everybody who has just come along and subscribed to me recently. I've had a bit of an influx of subscribers, probably since Questy shouted me out. So yeah, welcome everyone, and welcome back everyone who has been here prior. But yeah, let's get into this. So first of all, what's going on in the background? I'll not go into this too much because I did show this in my Black Magick SS ranking video, but this is the Black Abyss. This is the compilation album that I think came before all of the full-length material, if not maybe after Kaleidoscope Dreams. But these are kind of leftovers, perhaps EP material that was never really intended to be on a full-length album. But this flows like a full-length. It's like a double LP length album, and yeah, this is very good. If you like this style, the kind of psychedelic occult rock with blackened vocals sort of style that Black Magick SS came up with, then yeah, you'll dig this. Fantastic stuff. As I said in the last vid, this has the Owls of Winter and Talisman from the EP on it as well, the very minimalist, sort of bassless, drumless tracks, which are very, very good as well, super emotive. Give that a whirl if you're not familiar. Black Magick SS with the Black Abyss to get us through this vid. Alright, so without further ado, I'll just get into this. I haven't come up with an order for these, however, I will pick kind of the album that I think is the weirdest out of all these at the very end. The rest are not in any particular order. So yeah, bear with me. I'm just going to get straight into this bad boy with our first pick, and the one that will probably be in the thumbnail. This is Disharmonic Orchestra out of Austria, with their debut full-length album, I believe, entitled Not to be Unidimensional Conscious. If you can't tell by the kind of broken English of the kind of title, this is very abstract. If you can't tell by the kind of, I don't know, like geometrical fucking PC game front cover there, this is weird as shit, kind of progressive death metal. And I suppose if you're listening to this kind of straight away, you're probably thinking of bands like Atheist, just less jazzy but with the funky kind of bass work, stuff like that, like Later Death, all the typical things that just instantly go into your mind, because it's very offbeat, sort of stop-starty, tempo shifty sort of death metal, nothing too bizarre. But then every now and then they'll throw in a very Austria-esque curveball, and by that I mean the Austrian death metal bands are usually pretty out there, with bands like Pungent Stench, Disastrous Murmur, etc. We get a very, very unusual and very unexpected, when you first listen to this, sort of hip-hop beat break that comes into it on the track The Return of the Living Beat, which just throws you completely off. And you kind of groove along to it, because, I mean, who doesn't enjoy a kind of beat break every now and then? But then it just goes straight back into the death metal, as though nothing happened, as though they've just done something perfectly normal, as though they've just come out of a solo section or something. And yeah, it's totally, totally bizarre. And it just clouds your vision for the rest of the album. Like, you can't look at the album the same after that's come in and indeed dispersed. Very, very weird. Very cool. Back cover there shows pretty much what you're in for here. I don't even know. Brilliant though. Shout out to the deceased cap there as well. But yeah, really good shit. Disharmonic Orchestra. Not to be unidimensional conscious. If you like unconventional death metal, give that a whirl. But yeah, heads up for that little ditty of a beat break in there. Tell me this isn't the catchiest shit in the world, by the way. Next up, I've gone for a band that just brought out a brand new album not too long ago. This is Malokarpatan. Fucking hell, I forgot the name of the band for a second there. With their, I don't know how many albums in this was. Leave that with me. I'll sort that out in the comments. I'll not, in the description, sorry. I'll not make it up this time. With whatever number album this is, Krupinské Ohne, or Ohne. This is a band out of Greece, and you'd probably be most sensible kind of calling this black metal mixed with folk metal. Not really kind of pagan, it's not kind of that dark, but what we actually get here is very folkish black metal, but with heavy metal riffs. Very traditional sounding, very noticeable. There's not like a huge amount of distortion on the rhythm guitars or anything, and it just makes for a really, really unusual, very enjoyable listen. So when black metal's mixed with things like speed metal, thrash metal, it works perfectly, and that's exactly what kind of marriage we get here in different styles. But this just sounds completely bizarre. The guitar tone just sounds really authentic and very, I don't know, very clear. You can hear every goddamn note that's going on. Again, you feel like you're in like an Iron Maiden crossover band with some sort of, as though like Iron Maiden's been possessed by some sort of demon. But then we get some really nice kind of pretty elements as well, which just makes this a absolutely fantastic all-round listen. Really, as I say, unusual. But just an absolute banger from beginning to end, if I can spit my words out. But yeah, unexpected, but once it gets into your head, the earworms just do not let you switch this goddamn thing off. I play this thing all the time. It's almost like a palate cleanse black metal album, if you're not wanting the like really sawing, grating guitar tone. But yeah, this thing's fantastic. That's Malokarpatan out of Greece with Krupinské Ohne, or Ohne. Probably butchering the title of that as usual, but yeah, I tried my best as usual. Next up is an album I'm not actually sure I've shown on this channel before, which is kind of surprising because I fucking love this thing. This is Nocturnus out of Florida with their debut full-length album entitled The Key. So this was originally put out in 1990 through Earache Records. By the way, can we just take a look at that dog shit job that Earache Records have done with this repress of the cover art? It is absolutely horrific, a real eyesore. They have butchered it, but yeah, anyway, I could just see it there and it was bothering me. But yeah, if you're not familiar with Nocturnus, they play a very thrashy style of death metal inherently. It's almost just thrash metal. So yeah, it's kind of got that proto-death feel. But there's some really nice kind of snarled vocals going on. the weirdness comes in with the keyboards. So this was pretty much the first kind of death metal album to incorporate keyboards as like a basal instrument, as opposed to like adding them as like intros and things like that. Very strange. They're almost used in a sort of symphonic black metal sense, or even just symphonic death metal sense, in that they just kind of float around and twinkle in the background. But instead of giving it kind of an orchestral feel, like a lot of symphonic death and black metal, this kind of just comes across as really spacey, very kind of cosmic sounding, just a really, really weird listen. So if you just take bass thrash metal, add a bit of kind of progginess, the stop-start stuff's all over this thing, you start nodding your head and it stops and you look like an absolute dickhead, but yeah, then we've got those keyboards just to make it an all-round more bizarre, unusual experience. To my knowledge, and as I'm thinking here, I can't really think of another band that sounds like this. Bands have done the progressive thing and the technical thing, of course, but yeah, the keyboards just make this a really, really unique experience. Nocturnus, the key. Fantastic stuff. But fucking sort the artwork out, by the way, Eric. God damn, man. Anyway, I'm allowed a bit moan, especially if I'm working a weekend. What's this bullshit? I didn't sign up for this. Next up, we've got out of Finland, Aransy Pazuzu. I've probably shown this before, but yeah, a weird albums list can't be complete, in my opinion, without some Aransy Pazuzu. So if I was to describe this, like, simplistically, I'd say this was probably atmospheric black metal at its core. However, what we've actually got here is very, very suffocating, disorientating, discombobulating, psychedelic, atmospheric black metal. There are kind of synth moments going through this. There are unusual sort of, I don't know what you'd even call them, sort of traditional instruments going into this. It might even tell me what has been put in. No, I don't think it's going to tell me, but yeah, so we've got organs, we've got synths, but yeah, synths are a huge sort of component of this album. You'd expect an atmospheric black metal album to be made up primarily of bass, drums, guitars, vocals, but yeah, there are some really, really unusual uses of synths in this. Not in a symphonic style, might I add. It almost comes across as a little bit dancey at times, and also it kind of, in certain songs, there's a song called Wasserman Caden Hierarchia, easy for me to say, that kind of uses the synth as a bass guitar, and you'll know exactly what I mean when it first comes in. There's bass, but there's also that synth kind of helping it out, helping the rhythm section, and it's very, very unusual, very, very psychedelic. You don't know in what world you are, you have no idea where you are. It's like a really weird drug trip of some description. You just get sucked into whatever vortex of hair that is. Yeah, it's just a weird all-round time. The high piercing screeches sort of add to that as well. It just sounds really erratic, helpless, inescapable, and it's absolutely brilliant. I think this was their 3rd or 4th full-length album, but yeah, don't quote me on that, because y'all know what my memory's like. That's Värähtelijä by Aransy Pazuzu. I don't think I actually said the name of the album before, but there you go. Brilliant stuff. Next up is an album that I was on the fence about including, because is it that bizarre compared to some of the stuff in this sort of avenue of the subgenre? But I've gone with it anyway. This is Pulver by Lifelover. This was released originally in 2006, and this is a sort of Swedish death rock, post-punk, black metal band, which just the description alone tells you how weird this thing is. What we've ultimately got here is a depressive black metal album mixed with post-punk. So it's, to me, I always say this with this album, it's almost got a dark, humorous kind of vibe about it. It almost sounds like it's making... It's finding light in suicide and depression and kind of abject sorrow, which is a really unique take. Usually suicidal, depressive black metal, or the other way around, is very serious. It's very steeped in the misery that it's trying to purvey. Whereas this one, yeah, the songs are upbeat, but the kind of lyrical themes and the themes that they're tackling don't call for that unless they're going for a sort of, I don't know, so dark that you can't help but smile sort of vibe. There's like children's vocals on this thing, like choir vocals that come in. That's very early on the album. We've got sort of almost half clean, half screamed vocals, which are almost sung. They're very melodic, somehow, despite being absolutely horrifying, totally haunting. We get those kind of terrified howls as well. It's just it's an unsettling listen, and it is very, very bizarre. So yeah, go and check that out. Absolutely fantastic stuff. I really like the kind of art style that they've gone for here with the woman absolutely covered in blood. But yeah, very, very good stuff. Unsettling as all hell. Lifelover with Pulver. I need to stop arsing around with these. I'll do that after. Next up is an album that I'm not sure how many of you will be aware of, to be honest. This kind of came into my mind just as I was kind of flicking through my shelves, and I was like, holy shit, there's no way I'm leaving that off this list. What we've got here is Handheld Demise by Gonemage. Now, if you're not familiar with Gonemage, they're a one-man black metal project inherently. I'd probably lump this project in with those very weird kind of grindstone records bands where they're taking black metal to new sort of levels with new elements and things like that. Just really experimental, but not experimental, if that makes sense. Just adding in different zany elements and things. This is black metal mixed with like 8-bit music. It almost sounds pixelated, if that makes any fucking sense. Very weird. It sounds like a really haunting sort of Nintendo game, and one that you will never ever fucking win at or complete. It's absolutely brilliant, so well done. The synths, the electronics, the blast beats are very weird. They sound really well produced, but they're kind of hidden behind the pixelated 8-bit stuff, and it just makes a really weird soundscape. Very challenging, and not something I put on personally very often. But when I'm in the mood for just something totally zany and out there, this is a brilliant, brilliant record just to throw on. It's not just focused around the electronics, so don't get that wrong. You won't go into this and get zero riffs and just like weird noise, but you do get a lot of that as well. But yeah, there are some really, really cool riffs hidden amongst this. Absolutely brilliant. He's also got another project called Memorage, or Memorage, or however you want to pronounce that, which is like new metal, which is much less my thing, but just as creative. So if you're interested in that, yeah, go and check him out. I believe he's out of the US, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, brilliant, brilliant stuff. I don't think I need any more Gonemage stuff in my collection after this one, because frankly, I don't pick it up enough. But yeah, I'm really pleased I picked this one up. This one came on a really nice kind of purple vinyl, by the way. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's quite unusual. Very cool. Gonemage, Handheld Demise. Bizarreness personified when it comes to extreme metal, that is for sure. Next up is an album I've shown a ton. Y'all know I'm a massive fan of this thing. This is Demilich with Nespithe. I did include this in my challenging albums ranking, and it also very much falls into the bizarreness category as well. Demilich played technical death metal, burp kind of sounding vocals. Sounds disgusting. It sounds like he's eating a bad curry and he's just recorded whatever noises his fucking stomach's making. The riffs sound like they're played back to front, and if you haven't heard this, and that sounds totally fucking stupid because how can a riff be backwards, go and listen to it. It really does sound like sheet music's being kind of written conventionally, and then it's played totally back to front. Riffs for days all over the shop. They come out of nowhere. We get tempo shifts all over the shop here. You'll get like blast beats all the way through with very off-tempo sounding riffs, as I say, just sound all over the shop. And then we'll get like a really random mid-paced like death stomp at the end that just kind of rips your face clean off. Absolutely brilliant. Scarcely been replicated. I can only really think of Multifission and Cathealist that have really like come out with something similar and good at the same time, but nothing compares to this thing. This was a one and done album for Demilich. I've heard mutterings of new music on the horizon, and I don't think I fucking want it. Just leave it at this, tour with this forever, and just leave your legacy as it is. That's Demilich with Nespithe. They're based out of Finland, if you're not familiar, but I'm sure most of you are at this point. How are we doing for time? I've only got 3 left, so we're doing okay here. That tea's freezing cold at this point. God damn it. Do it every time. Next up, based out of Switzerland this time. I think I've gotten that correct. This is Bølzer or Bølzer or Bolzer. Probably said the same thing 3 times there, and yeah, probably looked like a tremendous dumbass, but what's changed there? This is Hero. Again, not sure how many albums in this was. It's a fairly recent one, but this inherently is probably black metal if we're going to categorize them. However, there's like emphasis on doom metal here. The guitar tone very much is shrouded in doom. It's very fuzzy, very dense, and very heavy sounding. Well produced, but well produced for a doom album, so there's still like a big reverberating kind of soundscape. It sounds like everything's being played in a very echoey room. And the vocals here are sort of, we get harsh kind of mid-register screams on this, but we also get a very kind of moany, very sorrowful kind of clean vocal on here. It sounds almost like an old man in pain, just begging for you to put him out of his misery. They're kind of melodic, and they go along very nicely, like up and down in like texture and tone with the riffs in the background. It's very kind of tremolo-y. There's lots of like strumming going on this thing, but yeah, there's like elements of lots of different things going on. It's almost got a bit of a heavy metal feel at times, very traditional sounding, very early doom, proto metal kind of thing, in the vein of Sabbath a little bit, and yeah, really interesting album, really interesting band in general. Their newest EP has a track on it called A Sheep in Woven Skin, I think it's called, and they even incorporate whistling in that, which I love. I love the sound of that. I mean, it's difficult to whistle in tune and quickly along with metal, but when it's used, it's fucking great. Petition to put more whistling in metal music, please. Right, 2 left, and you know I couldn't leave this one off. So again, another Floridian death metal band, this time courtesy of Cynic, with their debut full-length album entitled Focus. This came out in 1993. This is technical death metal through and through. However, the bizarreness comes in with the vocal decision here. There are growls on this thing, and they kind of mid-register to high-register, but we also get some really unusual, very odd, very kind of disconcerting and distracting robotic vocals, and they literally are robotic. They're like auto-tuned so that they sound like a robot's talking all the way through this thing, and it just transports you to another realm. It's completely, it feels kind of like the album cover. It's sort of like ripping you apart between dimensions, and you're just kind of in limbo, in half, with your fucking organs spilling out everywhere. Very weird, very technical, Again, this is one of those albums where it's about as far as I can go as far as technicality goes. But yeah, this is a whirlwind of an album, and a really, really fucking cool one at that. That's Focus by Cynic. I'll not talk too much more about that one, because it is very good and you should go and check it out yourselves. The band Obscura from Germany, I believe, did do a kind of similar style, and they do it very well. But other than that, I can't really think of a band that's used kind of robotic vocals amongst kind of prog death metal before. And finally, that leaves the album that I've picked as the most bizarre in my collection. Take a swig of tea just to keep us in suspense. I'm sure you've got your arses on the edge of your seat in anticipation. This is Dola, or no, it can't be Dola. Dola, D-O-L-A, with their full-length album, self-titled D-O-L-A, Dola. This is a band out of Poland, and this is pretty much an extreme metal album with every single sort of style of extreme metal in it. I'm not even sure you can categorize this. There are elements of noise all the way through this thing, which is pretty much what the basal sound probably is. There is grindcore in this, there's a punky feel, there's black metal with the atmosphere and the production and the screams. We get occasional blast beats. There's a very doomy feel because we've got that guitar tone that just shrouds the thing in a dense layer of fog. We've got elements of death metal, but that's probably the kind of sparser of the subgenre inclusions on this thing. And then it's got a bit of a like hardcore feel. It's got all that sort of like any sort of punk offshoot, you name it, it's in here. This is absolutely fantastic, immersive, challenging, bizarre, underrated, and it's absolutely worth your time. Please go and check this out if you haven't already. That's Dola with Dola. This is a band out of Poland, and I don't think they've done too much material. This may be their debut, I can't really remember. But yeah, man, if you want a noisy mishmash of all different styles, then this one literally has it all. Dola with Dola. And that concludes this list. Thank you all so much for coming along, checking out the vid, watching as always. Thank you to all the brand new subscribers as well, yet again, much appreciated. Great to have you here. Come say hi in the comments. I do try and kind of get back to as many people as I can. I have been slacking lately because I've just been busy as fuck, but I do read everyone's comments regardless. Yeah, I shouldn't be too long back with another one. As I say, should be back with the kind of quick fire reviews vid that I've promised. But yeah, in the meantime, I've got work to go to, unfortunately. Enjoy the rest of your weekend until I see yous again, and then even after, during, whatever. Hopefully this, my next vid will kind of be the soundtrack to your Sunday evening. Have a great one. Take care as always, and I will catch yous in the next one.